The three of them walked out of the office.
Kosjem, I'm glad you made a new friend, but...
Keigos began. Come with us if you're so worried.
Me, go to Salhain.
Yes, I come here all the time. Return the favor. Keigos raised an eyebrow.
You think your coming here is a favor to me?
I brighten your day. Keigos laughed. Dintad looked back and forth between the two of them. Are you sure you weren't together?
She's like a little sister, or daughter,
Keigos said. I'm 21. I don't think daughter would have been possible.
You flatter me,
Keigos said. How old are you? Kosjem said.
43.
Really? Huh. So it's not just a new trend to wear leather all over your body. Keigos gave her a side glance. Are you really worried about having me with you?
Can you blame her? Look at how your niece behaved when she found out she was Keigosite.
Dintad dropped his eyes. I know that after the meeting everyone's uptight. What happened in the meeting? They walked for another minute in silence before Dintad finally said, Thing is, no one really knows. They just know both of the kings looked angry at the end of the meeting and the military had been on high alert. So all of this is based on some frowns? You know, things aren't happening like this in Keigos.
Are you sure? I mean, we'll know for sure once we cross the border. You're the only one of us that's Keigosite here.
I'm sure, don't worry. Both of you will be safe.
I never agreed to go.
But you don't want me alone with him. Keigos sniffed.
Fine. I don't run the ships back, you know.
But you are a pilot. They'll let you on with a couple of friends easy.
Yeah, friends. Not sure friends would ask something like this of me.
They walked at a feverish pace for about 3 hours until they made it to the depot.
Mr. Gever,
one of the guards at the depot said.
Are you heading out already? And who are they? I'm a pilot, you idiot,
Keigos said.
Our pilot's already here, the guard said. I'm not flying this shift, just need a ride back to Pentok.
Could I see your travel papers? The guard said.
We are leaving Chordek, nothing to fear.
It's a medical transport leaving next. There's lots to fear. We had some assassinations at the hospital in Pentok. Assassinations? Who was assassinated? 2 visitors from Salhain, Keigos' advisors. Kosjem covered her mouth. Dintad and Keigos both staggered.
You still sure you want to make this trip, Dintad?
Yes, I will be very careful though, and stay out of hospitals. Keigos and Kosjem nodded.
How long until the transport?
Keigos asked. It leaves in about an hour. They sat in silence for the next hour. Kosjem felt the need to scratch or stretch her legs, but did not dare move around with so many eyes on her. Keigos, on the other hand, got up and paced once, and Dintad bit his cuticles. After a little more than an hour, the transport arrived. They paid their fee and boarded. Kosjem was sure to exchange the Keigos and Krolum for Gregora and Alum, so there would be no chance of getting spotted out due to differing currency. The 2 currencies were supposed to be worth the same, but there were plenty of people who didn't accept one or the other, so she was willing to pay a small fee to get them exchanged anyhow. It was daytime, so Kosjem was even more upset about not being able to see out the window, but she did not press the issue. There was no longer any time for wonder or amazement. The nurses next to the windows talked animatedly about the meeting and all the rumors surrounding it. And they'll probably attack any day.
We need to put heavier guard along the eastern shore.
That would make sense, but you know it can be dangerous for Gregora loyalists in places like Avadi, Passe, and Elam. Those would be the first places Keigos would attack. They're bloodthirsty there. Kosjem worked hard to keep her mouth shut. They were wrong. Keigos would never attack unprovoked. That was the problem, though. She remembered Keigos and Helen's conversation. There would always be provocation. She tried to push it down. She had furniture and eventual deliveries to make. They got out of the transport and into Pentok without incident. Kosjem kicked herself because she had forgotten to buy the sweet stew. Pentok was a large city with a lot of people, but its size did not present her with the wide variety you would expect. Pentok did not even have any signature dishes like most of the other towns did. Even Umtronkos had Umtronkos Red. There was a sweet stew restaurant near the big park, however, so she motioned to it. I'm surprised you like that stuff. I don't even like that stuff, and I live in Chordek now. Kosjem kept her mouth shut. She was not about to create any more problems. They went inside and sat down. A server came to the table. Saja daboliki tapasuke zoin ketosik. Kosjem stifled a laugh. She had said Gregorian dialect sounded more like Old Vinkin, but this is ridiculous.
This is a theme restaurant, Kosjem. They use those old-fashioned greetings and wear pre-colony outfits,
Gagak said. Now that he mentioned it, she could see. The server was wearing a loose, dried grass skirt. He had a pezshif and a bazshif, but they were just tight wraps rather than the elaborate pieces that people would wear in Kosjem's time. The server was incredibly muscular, and he wore a crown of plants on his head. "What on earth is that?" she asked in a whisper.
"People used to wear those back in Vinca. Not just leaders, even guests wore them. Things were really different back then," Dintar said. "My mother used to show me stories and she showed me drawings. There were no photographs back then."
"Can I take your order?" the man said, tired of waiting for the trio to stop talking. "Sweet stew, obviously," Kostem said. "What kind of sweet stew?" the man said. The sweet kind?"
"Julor and Uarfolk, please," Gagak said.
"Uarfolk? That's going to make it sour."
"They preserve it when it's sweet."
Julor and extra flour, please," she finally said. "I can usually just order sweet stew and get what I want."
"That's because you order at the cheap places," Dintar said. "Next time you're in Chordek, I'll show you the better places. I assume, anyway. My niece always goes there."
"No strange looks since I've come back. Maybe things have already calmed down. False alarm. Probably the kings didn't like the look of the other's penny sheaf."
"Don't think we're safe even for a second," Gagak said. "We should still be careful until we're in nicer territory for you."
Kostem ate her stew in silence when it arrived. They paid the restaurant a significant fee, then walked outside and on the road back to the train station. "Do you think people in Pentok just don't care?"
"Oh, they care. Pentok is just always busy. People care about this, but it'll hit the coast before it hits them, so they're not that worried,"
Gagak said. They got onto the train to Elam without incident. They got about halfway to the port when the train broke down. This was normal. People used to joke that Gregora wanted the train to break down because he did not want people to travel anymore. No one had any idea why this would have been, but no one could stop a good conspiracy theory. "Where are we?"
"I think the closest town is Belos."
No interest. We can just stay here until the train is fixed. "Did you know this train used to go right outside of Chordek?" Kostem said.
"Yes,"
Gagak said.
"I used to take it to visit my sister."
"That was back before we had our falling out," Dintar said. "You had a falling out with your sister, too?" "You said you had problems with your brother," Kostem said.
"Yes, she spoils her daughter and I don't want to. She smelled blood in the water after things went south with my brother."
"So you were going to do Yetu with your brother's kid, right?" Kostem said.
"Yeah."
"Well, since your brother's gone, maybe you can still do it. Sorry if this sounds bad, but he can't stand in your way."
"Well, my nephew also died."
"Oh," Kostem said. There was a lot of commotion around the track. All of them looked out their windows. There was a crowd of people banging on the side of the train and shouting. They could not quite understand what the people were shouting. Kostem opened her window. It was chaos. A dozen voices overlapping. She could not understand any of them. "What are they saying?" Kostem shouted. Gagak stuck his head out the window. Someone noticed him and threw a rock at him. It connected with his temple. He fell backward into the train. Kostem and Dintar got on their knees beside him. It was then that the various voices converged into two sentences being chanted. "Drive the Keigos Hite out! No more trips here from Elam! Drive the Keigos Hite out! No more trips here from Elam!" Suddenly gunfire. Some of the men scattered, but most stuck to their position outside the train. More gunfire. Some of their bodies slumped.
"Get the hell off my track, you morons! Elam is still Gregora, and this train is full of Gregora Hite. My men will defend our trains, and we won't hesitate to blow each and every one of your brains out if you don't move back about one potshesh."
Someone threw a rock at the man. It hit him in the eye, but he turned his aim on the crowd again. Bang! Another of the riders down. Others started lighting things on fire and throwing them into the train. That's when about 20 armed men came out and started to gun down the rioters. Kosjem and Dintar covered their ears as shots rang out. Gagax groaned and moved his head. Screams came from up and down the train. Shouts of "Fire!" rang out before the sprinklers turned on in several compartments. White smoke poured out of the windows in the cars behind theirs. It had been several minutes by the time the gunshots stopped. Kosjem's party stayed low to the ground, and suddenly the train started again. A few more minutes later, there was a knock at their door. Medical. "Is anyone injured in here?" she said.
"Yes, this man. Gagak's something rather,"
Dintar said. The medic rushed to his side. She used a disinfectant and wrapped his head with bandages. She snapped her fingers in front of his eyes. He gasped. "He's responsive at least. Keep him awake until we get to a hospital." "They're just going to keep moving after that?" Kosjem said, still low to the ground.
"I imagine they're moving away from the protesters."
"Protests don't involve weapons. At least not by the protesters. This was just a riot."
It's just Gregora dialect. We don't say riot, we say down protest," Gagak said.
His head wobbled a bit. "Are you going to be all right?"
"No one can bring me down, least of all some pathetic protesters."
Kostem's mouth twitched. She almost smiled, but her face returned to worry rather quickly. "What's the nearest city, anyhow?" Kostem said.
"I'm not sure how far we are. Possibly Belos. They don't have a large hospital there, but hopefully enough space. They can send more medical later, but it's going to be a difficult effort until then,"
Dintar said. "How many people were hurt?" Kostem said. The train lurched, and Kostem and Dintar tried to steady themselves.
"I'm not trying to be rude, but honestly, you know as much as I do."
"Maybe you're her father."
Gagax coughed. Dintar went pale.
"I hope we get to Belos soon. We need to get you to a hospital," Dintar said.
"I'll be fine."
"You were hit in a vital point with a rock."
"I was lucky it was just a rock."
"Dead is dead, Gagax," Kostem said. They stayed huddled around Gagax until the train came to a stop again. A voice came over the intercom. "This train will be delayed at Belos while we find medical help for injured passengers. Please bear with us." After a few minutes, medics came into the compartment and put Gagax on a stretcher. Kostem and Dintar followed closely behind. Much like every location on the railroad, Belos was actually quite a distance from the station. They managed to get into a transport with the medics and made their way into the town. Kostem's eyes were drawn to something right away: pale skin. She thought at first it may be a Brokti, but turned quickly to the person and realized she was wrong. This was an Mtehite. She remembered there was a decent-sized Mtehite population in Belos. She did not expect one to be working at the hospital, though. Noticing the look on her face, the man turned to her and said, "Good morning," in broken English. Kostem did not understand what he had said. The man smirked and shook his head.
"There's a bunch of them here,"
Dintar said. "Yes, well, they have to live somewhere, I suppose."
"Yes,"
Dintar said. After waiting about an hour, Gagax walked out with a bandage around his head.
"Hey!"
Kostem grabbed his hands. "Gagax, you old fool. Are you going to be all right?"
"Yeah, I'm fine. Don't worry about me. The doctors scanned me and sewed me up. I'm gonna be fine."
"I'm glad to hear it.
We've probably missed the train to Elam. We'll have to wait for the next one." "That's fine with me. I can wait at the train station. I don't want to risk missing the train," Kostem said.
"Are you sure you want to come back here to deliver all my furniture, Kosjem? Things are getting nasty."
"I don't have any choice." Gagax and Dintar both looked at her. They made their way on foot back to the train station, Kosjem's supply case and all. This is a companion story to Diamond Spearhead, available on Amazon now. As strange as it feels to say this, like, share, and subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Especially share. That's more important than the other two.